Welcome to another edition of Who's Better Baseball, the podcast where we answer a simple question on each show. Who's better at baseball? I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. I'm managing editor at justbaseball.com. I have Harrison Bruns with us, who just wrote an article on Gunnar Henderson. He's been covering the Orioles for us this year. And when we're specifically talking about who's better, Gunnar Henderson has been a lot better. He started off slow. What you wrote about it is he got hot in June and is looking like the guy that I think Orioles fans always hoped that he would be.
Yes, no, he is. He stepped up a lot after a slow start, and it really wasn't as slow of a start as a lot of people made it out to seem. A lot of people were ready to panic on him and yada yada yada, and he really had two issues: striking out a lot, and the batting average was really low. Right, he was still walking, he was seeing a lot of pitches, and he was taking what appeared to be like fine at bats. Like his at bats didn't look concerning. He had a really low chase rate. Part of that was he wasn't swinging a whole lot. But like I said, his start wasn't as slow as a lot of people wanted it to seem it was. And he's really come on as of late.
When you watch, because you're someone that actually watches the Orioles and more than I do, certainly day in day out, what do you see from Gunnar Henderson as far as at times you could just kind of tell which are the guys on the team that you follow that have that star potential? What do you see when you watch Gunnar Henderson throughout this season and so far in his career?
Well, I mean, last year I think we saw flashes of the player that he could be in that month, the month of September when he was with the major league team. I mean, you saw flashes of it, right? He showed some power, solid defense at shortstop, and looked like he obviously like he came out as the rookie of the year favorite for a reason, right? Like he showed enough that he deserved to be the rookie of the year favorite when the season started, and then this year, when the year started, he really just he didn't look lost at the plate, but he looked like his plan just wasn't the best for him and like the way he plays. And I wrote about this a little bit a couple months ago when talking about things the Orioles needed to do to compete. And one of those things being Gunnar needed to step up. Like they needed more out of him on offense in order to be a real contender. And some of the issues I noted were he wasn't swinging. Like he had one of the lowest swing rates in the league and one of the highest whiff rates in the league. So it's like if you're not getting your swings off, and when you are, you're missing more often than most major leaguers, like it's not a great combination. And I think that's why you saw his batting average dip so low. Like there was a point where he was hitting 165. But as he started to swing more, obviously he's making much better contact. And he's being a lot more aggressive, which I'd love to see.
Yeah, in June he had 6 home runs, and
Yeah.
he has 11 on the season. If you were to just extrapolate that, let's just say he can put up 6 home runs a month from here on out.
Yeah.
You're verging on a 30 home run season from a rookie, and you're looking at a WRC plus this past month. I was just looking at your article. It was at 177 for the entire month of June. Uh, if you again kind of extrapolate, I think you in the article says something about maybe getting that WRC plus to a 140.
Mm-hmm.
What does a rookie of the year season look like for Gunnar Henderson? Is it 30 home runs? Is it 260 batting average? The on base is already at 341,
Yeah.
and he struggled so much with the average to start. So to see that climb, what's the slash line? What's the stats look like at season's end if he's rookie of the year?
Right now, I think you have to keep in mind the fact of like who he's chasing, right? Like he's
Yeah.
chasing Josh Young. And I think one thing that is going to make Josh Young particularly hard to catch is the fact that he's starting in the All-Star game. I think
Yeah.
that's going to play a massive role when it comes to voting at the end. It's like, oh man, like he started the All-Star game. And him and Gunnar, for the most part this season, are playing the same position, right? Like he's starting the All-Star game. Gunner's not in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think you obviously you can make the argument that had he gotten off to a better start, like Gunnar might be there, but the fact of the matter is like he isn't. And so I think a rookie of the year season for Gunnar, he's gotta get the average up. I think that's like if he can just get the average up to 250, if he can be above 250,
Yeah.
which if he keeps playing like this, it will be like it's.
Trending. Yeah.
I think right now it's 230. He's hitting 239,
Yeah.
and so that's a huge jump from when he was hitting 185. And so if he can get the average up to about 250, an OPS around 850, and hit 25 home runs and maybe have a shot at 30. I didn't think he had a shot at 30 coming into the year, but after that last month, like he could. Just because like when he does hit the ball, he hits it so hard. And like he always seems to make really loud contact even when they're outs, and so I'm glad that he's swinging more. But I do think if he can get the average up to 250, 850 OPS, 25 home runs, I think he's going to have a real argument at the end of the year.
It's, you look at the career up to this point, and just to get excited before we get really into the odds of the Rookie of the Year race, 106 games, 246 average, 343 on base, 449 slug, 122 WRC plus. If you're telling me, and I would imagine he's going to get better, but that's the floor of Gunnar Henderson, that's a really solid player to have. He's also giving you good defense on the left side of the infield. Moving forward, what is clear beyond any, I think, debate in my mind is Gunnar Henderson is going to be part of this Orioles core for a decade and a very big part of it.
Oh, absolutely. Like him, I think him and Adley, you can lock up for the foreseeable future. Like those two dudes aren't going anywhere anytime soon.
No, not at all. And when we get a little more into this Rookie of the Year race, and for those of you who want to bet on it, you should go to our partners at BetMGM and use the code JustBaseball to get some bonuses. You look at the odds right now: Josh Young at plus 150, Masataka Yoshida plus 275, Gunnar Henderson plus 325. So those are the three front runners here. And let's get to that first before we get into some, kind of dark horses.
Yeah.
You look at Young, it's 17 home runs, so he's got that edge.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the area that Gunnar needs to catch, right? If he can catch him in home runs and at least make it close, then that's one less thing. And then I think over the course of the season, who knows? Because the interesting thing is he also has him in batting average. He's hitting 270, but the on base is at 323. So Gunnar's got him in OBP. It's just kind of interesting how it's broken up. I feel like he's got the stats, Young does, that it's the traditional stats, which maybe some voters are still going to prioritize. The average, the home runs, the RBIs. He's got 50 compared to Gunnar at 30. But you look at the advanced stats of a WRC plus with all the struggles that Gunnar had, he's only 2 points behind him in WRC plus. Young's at 123, Gunnar's at 121. So it's interesting that comparison here. I think he's got to get him in home runs, because I don't know if he's going to get him in average, but I feel like if he gets him in home runs, the conversation is going to really open up for him.
I agree. I think the most important numbers for Gunnar as far as being able to win Rookie of the Year right now are going to be the home runs and then the OPS, because like you mentioned, his OBP would, despite, hitting, 30 points lower than Young, he has him by like 20 in OBP. And so if he can just kind of pump those power numbers a little bit and get like he's gonna have a high on base percentage the rest of the year, like that, without a doubt in my mind. Like he's walking at a 12% clip, which has fallen since like he started. When he started, he was walking a ridiculous amount. Like he was walking almost 20% of the time, and also striking out like 40% of the time. But the strikeouts have come down, and as has the walk rate. So he's not going to walk quite as much, but I firmly believe he'll have the OBP is going to stay. Like he's going to have a high OBP the rest of the year, especially if he keeps hitting like this, because pitchers are going to start to be a lot more careful with him. And I think he will be able to take his walks, but I do think the OPS is going to be a big number, that and the home runs. 11 and 17, I don't know if Gunnar catches him, but if he can make it close, and where it's, Young has 29 and Gunnar's at 26, and Gunner's OPS is significantly better, or maybe not even significantly, but he has him by 30, 40 points in OPS. I think that makes a world of difference.
What's interesting too is he also has him in doubles. Young does. So can he catch him there? Because it's about raising that slug and raising that OPS, like you said. Right now, he's down by about a little over 30 points in the slug. So if you can narrow that margin, get it within 10 or even within 20, he's going to have him in an OBP, and that's going to make that a lot closer. Because you're right, if the OPS is similar and the home runs get close, and then I think then you start to build out the narratives, right? So it's the question of, are the Rangers going to remain this incredible team? What happens if the Astros end up running them down?
Mm-hmm.
And then the Orioles are the top wild card team. It'll be curious too. These could be the first and second wild card teams if the Rangers can't hold on to their division. So who has the better record? That would come into play. There's also Masataka Yoshida, and he's kind of this like steady bet of he's hitting 305. He's got a 377 on base percentage, 477 slug. He's already figured out how to double like crazy in Fenway. He's got a 134 WRC plus. Is he in his 30s already? How old is he? 29? Yoshida, let me look. He's
Yeah,
29 years old. So, so yeah, he's that pick where it's like if there's a steady horse to bet on, I guess it's Yoshida. Of the three though, I know what are the odds? You were telling me through message before. What odds did you get Gunnar at?
I double checked. I got him at plus 2,000 when he was stinking. He was hitting like 160, and I was just like it showed up, and I was kind of just like, man, like if he can turn it around, like he has the ability to turn it around and figure it out. And so I just threw a little bit on it. I didn't put nothing crazy on it. It was just a little bit. I think I put just 1 unit on it, but I got him at plus 2,000. So we'll see if it works out. But right now I feel pretty good about it.
Well, yeah, you feel great, and you're in for. I mean, just watching the Orioles and loving what he's doing, but now you got a little extra incentive to be rooting for him. That's going to be a lot of fun for you down the stretch here. I want to look at the other dark horses here. There's two that jump out to me in particular. So one, it's Ryan Noda. And it's the fact that he's plus 5,000, which makes no sense to me because offensively, his numbers are not far off from these guys. I mean, he's right there. For one, he gets on base at a ridiculous clip. So you have that going for you. At WRC plus, he's at 131. So he's, right behind Yoshida, and he's getting on base at a 384 clip. Is it just that they're never going to award anyone from that Oakland team this season? I think that's what those odds reflect. But it is kind of crazy that you can get him at plus 5,000 because there's a world where the top three fall off and Noda just keeps putting up consistent numbers. And by year's end, you're just like, I guess we got to give it to Noda.
Yeah, it doesn't make a ton of sense when you look at his odds. It's like when you look at his numbers and compare him to the odds, he should not be that much of a long shot to win Rookie of the Year. And if anything, I think I'd say there's probably a pretty solid chance he finishes top 5, right? Because somebody like you mentioned, people being like, oh, I can't give it to an Oakland. Like, this is the worst team I've ever seen, and I can't give it to an Oakland A. And if people are really thinking that, then there might also be people that are like, man, like he deserves a vote. I don't want to give it to him, so I'm gonna give him like my second place vote or my third place vote, and he ends up finishing top 5 in Rookie of the Year. I think there's a really good chance that he does that. But I mean, like you said, he's walking almost 19% of the time, and massive on base percentage. He's been really productive. I do think one thing that is of note is he's, at least from what I can see, he's only slugging 400, and so the slug isn't quite there. Like he has the 8 home runs, but with a slugging percentage of only 400, it's in his OPS is lower than Yoshida, Young, and Gunnar's right now, and so I think that would probably be the only knock on him. Right, would be the OPS just isn't quite there, and he's not quite slugging as much, but still, he's being really, really productive.
I think the odds are a little bit crazy, but I also can't see a world where he wins it.
Yeah, I agree.
The dark horse that I think could win it is Hunter Brown.
I agree.
You're looking at him right now, 16 starts, and look, it's again, you always, when you talk about award races, you always have to think about the narratives that can take shape. And with Hunter Brown, there's a clear one. A lot of guys have been out of that Astros rotation. He has filled in a big way. He's not only is he pitching well, 3.76 ERA, but it's the fact that he's been a workhorse. I mean, 16 starts, 91 innings pitched. I don't know how much that climbs when you get to the end of the season. Is he going to be sitting at 32 starts, 180 innings? There's a chance. And if the Astros really make a push and win this division, and if his numbers stay there, I think the offensive guys would have to fall back a little bit. Yes. But still, if he's sporting a 3.5 ERA, he gives the team 180 innings at a 3.5. Man, that's a pretty compelling case that is the most valuable rookie in baseball, or at least in the American League.
Yeah, I I agree with you with Hunter Brown being like the long shot favorite, you know, somebody with odds over 1,000 that has a chance to win it. I agree 100%. And I think the big point with him is, like you said, he's been a workhorse. 91 innings. If he touches 180 innings and is, you know, like the clear cut two in that rotation or what have you, and you know, steps up and is really, you know, filling in for a lot of dudes that have been in and out of the rotation, I think he has a really, really good argument, especially if he, you know, like you said, he's at a 3.76 ERA right now. If he finds a way to get that really close to 3, and he's pitching close to a 3 ERA with 180 innings, I'd be hard pressed not to vote for him if I had one. Especially if, like you said, if Young hangs around an 800 OPS, Gunnar hangs around an 800 OPS, and Yoshida maybe regresses a little and is, you know, at a, you know, 825 OPS, you know, none of those bats would look exceptional, but what Hunter Brown did would look exceptional, and it would stand out a lot.
It would. And he's sitting there right now with his xFIP at 305. So to say, get that ERA down to 3, it's not out of the question.
No.
And he's racking up strikeouts too. I mean, he's got a strikeout per 9 over 10 on the season. He's at 103 strikeouts. So I mean, imagine he even sniffs 200 strikeouts. Then it's like, man, a rookie with 200 Ks.
Yep.
It'll be tough. I mean, last year, I think I might have voted for Strider if I had a vote in the National League over Harris, and Harris won it. So I don't know if offensive players always had the edge there, but at the same time, if I had to tell you right now, if anyone's listening to this, who to bet on based on the odds, I think I'd tell you to lay a little on Hunter Brown because he's at plus 1,000 compared to these other 3 guys, where I think the other 3 guys are a little more of a toss up, and he's just a very interesting dark horse to lay some money on.
Yeah, I would agree. And the other thing is, if there's a pitcher that's going to win it, it's him.
Yeah.
I don't think any other rookie pitcher has the innings, because I think in order to win Rookie of the Year, you know, he, as a pitcher, you have to put up a lot of innings. Like, you got to throw it, because I think that was probably one of the bigger knocks on Strider last year, was he threw what, 100 was it like 125, or it was somewhere in
like
there,
that. Yeah.
140 at most. And so that was, I think, something that compelled a lot of people to vote for Strider. Well, looks like you're probably not going to be able to have that knock on Hunter Brown this year, because he's on pace to throw 180 some odd innings, and if he does that, it'd be incredible. Like, so I agree. If, you know, with his odds being over 1,000, I think that's the guy that, if you were going to bet on somebody right now, he's the person I think you put a little money on.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at last year, Strider was at 131 2/3.
Okay.
So
yeah,
he's going to blow past that. Last note here, because I mentioned this on the Just Baseball show the other day. I'm not sure if you caught that. I'm just curious. Do you know how many strikeouts Spencer Strider has in his career? I'll let you guess. He's pitched up to this point 232 and a third innings up to this point. How many strikeouts do you think he's racked up in a little over 230 innings?
I heard this, so I feel like I'm cheating a little, but I don't remember the exact number, but I just remember it being absolutely absurd. It's like 3, it's like 320 something?
I think that's what Peter guessed. It's 357.
Oh,
He's over 350 career strikeouts, and he hasn't gotten a 250 career innings pitched.
That's just nuts. Absolutely nuts.
It's insane. It's something I think I'm going to enjoy doing, even as a Mets fan throughout Strider's career, just checking how absurd he is with the strikeouts. But that was today's edition of Who's Better Baseball. Thank you, Harrison, for joining me. Make sure you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast, subscribe on YouTube, and check out all the great written content we have coming your way at justbaseball.com.